Working the HF bands is one of the most popular activities of amateur radio operators. Whether it's a watt and a wire or stacked beams and a kilowatt, everyone has their own style and preferred equipment. And when it comes to equipment, the one thing that there's definitely no shortage of, and that's options for HF rigs. From building your own to buying one with all of the features and functions anyone could ever need, the choice is yours, and it's typically based upon your needs, location, and budget. Now, if you are an avid contester or DXer, or you just want the highest level of engineering and performance from your HF transceiver, then I've got a radio you'll definitely be interested in, the Yaesu FTDX-101D. With it, Yaesu introduced a top-tier HF radio that demanding operators just love. And with a little help from a friend, I'm going to tell you why. I'm Katie, WY7YL for Ham Radio Outlet, with another radioactive video for you. I've invited my friend and colleague here at Ham Radio Outlet, Chip Margelli, K7JA, to provide some additional information on this amazing radio. Now, Chip has won ARRL sweepstakes a dozen times for the nation and has won national and international awards in DX contests with CQ and ARRL. He really knows operating in the trenches. He also spent 30 years with Yaesu and 3 of those years at their headquarters in Tokyo. So he truly knows all about the Yaesu products. Welcome, Chip. Thank you so much for joining me here on this video. I'm really excited to hear about all that you've learned about the Yaesu FTDX-101D.
Well, thanks, Katie. It was a real pleasure reviewing the FTDX-101D, which is one mean street machine. So I think we should just jump right in and explore all the features together.
That sounds great. Let's hit up some of the fun stuff first, and then we'll do the technical things later.
Well, we probably ought to start then with the three-dimensional spectrum scope, the 3DSS, which is really a big headliner on this radio. A lot of fun and a very powerful tool.
The three-dimensional spectrum scope is really the headliner feature on this radio. If you look at the front of it here, it looks like a fairly traditional pan adapter, but you notice it's scrolling towards the back. The older blips on the pan adapter are moving backwards, and you can always see what is happening on the band, especially if people are moving around. Now, I've got this set right now to a 100 kilohertz span, and it looks like there's some interesting blips here on 20 meters. All I have to do is go to a blip that looks of interest. I touch it, and now it's there in the center, and it's instant tuning. So I can see if that's somebody extremely interesting or somebody that's gotten really long-winded. Maybe I want to tune around and find somebody else. It's a very powerful tool and a lot of fun to use. Now let's use the 3DSS on the FT8 mode. You know, frequently you want to call CQ, but you don't exactly know what's a good place. Here you can see if people have been moving around. You can also see where they are. And boy, there's a nice big hole there. There's a lot of activities there, so that's not a good place. But here up and here low gives you an idea of where it might be a good place to call CQ because there's nobody else around you. If you come on right on top of somebody, chances are you won't be as easy to decode on the other side, especially if the other station's audio isn't the greatest. So very powerful tool for use on FT8, and it really helps you find your spot so you can work that rare DX. And just for a moment, let's say this were a CW pileup, even though we're looking at FT8. You can see that there are several places where there are holes in the pileup and several places where everybody seems to be on top of each other. Those are terrible places to call. But right next to it, look at there, there's a nice big hole there. Bet the DX station has a much better chance of hearing us there than where everybody else is piled up. This is a very, very powerful tool for a CW DX pileup, say on Heard Island or Bouvet or something like that.
Wow, that 3DSS is definitely a showstopper. Wow.
It sure is. It's a lot of fun, and I've got a lot more wow factor coming. When Yaesu designed this radio, they did so much right in the areas of dynamic range and things like that. So there's more to come.
Dynamic range, simply stated, is the ability of the receiver to function over a wide range of incoming signal strengths. Now, Yaesu has emphasized wide dynamic range since the late 1970s, the time of the FT901D. But where they made the real stride in the FTDX-101 is that they did some seriously good new work on the local oscillators in this product. Top-tier dynamic range means that a loud, close-in signal won't cause your own receiver to create noise or hash that limit your ability to receive. Yaesu's engineers did that work. It's quite an achievement because there are a lot of great receivers out there. By the way, these quiet oscillators also contribute to your transmitted signal being cleaner than ever.
Wow, it really sounds like a high level of fundamental performance. What else went into this?
Well, there are several things, Katie. You know, when we're operating in a contest, we aren't always operating alone in a vacuum. Sometimes we're in a multi-operator situation, like for the IARU contest or field day, and the FTDX-101D design really lends itself well to survival in that kind of a high RF environment.
You know, Katie, there are lots of features on the FTDX-101 that harken back to the original FT101 from the 70s, like the VC tune, which was the pre-selector in the original FT101. Remember that? Whoosh, whoosh. If you're on field day and you've got a 40 CW station and a 40 phone station on the same site, well, sometimes there's interference, and this pre-selector, now the VC tune, is a great way to make that go away. This is a really great feature, and I'm glad to see it back.
You know, that pre-selector, the VC tune, really goes back a long way in the Yaesu product line in terms of fundamental design that leads to excellent receiver performance. And the other thing that Yaesu has always been very, very strong on is receiver ultimate attenuation in the filters, the ability to slice its way through a band without signal leakage.
The filter ultimate attenuation of the FTDX-101 is better than 115 dB, and that's quite noteworthy. Ultimate attenuation is the total filtering system capability to prevent signal leakage on receive. Anything over 100 dB is quite good. Anything over 110 dB is spectacular. This receiver does better than 115.
And you know, since we're talking about features that have showed up in the history of the Yaesu product line, like the pre-selector, we can also go through the recent years of Yaesu design, where on radios like the FT1000D, they did a tremendous job in improving the receiver filter attenuation. The ultimate attenuation in filters allows you to slice through a very crowded band without signal leakage. And in the case of the FTDX-101D, they followed recent history, but took it a step further with the digital processing in addition to the excellent roofing filters.
Well, wow, Chip. I know I keep saying wow, but seriously, wow.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of wow in there, but you know, they did a lot of other things right. When you get a new radio, the last thing you want to have to do is hire a consultant to integrate it into your station, hook it up to an amplifier, hook it up to a computer. They did a lot of things right on the FTDX-101D. It is very easy to interface, which is great because you're anxious to get on the air. Oh boy, let's do it. And it's very easy to do.
Katie, digital mode interfacing is so easy on the FTDX-101D. Yeah, there's a traditional COM1 RS-232C connector like we've had on Yaesu radios for decades, but there also is a USB port on the back allowing direct connection to your computer for FT8 or rig control operations. As with some other radios, you do need a virtual COM port driver, and Yaesu has that on their website in the files section regarding the FTDX-101D. Makes it real simple. Interfacing to a linear amplifier can be a vexing situation for a lot of people. You got funny little connectors, thin wires to be soldered to an impossible connector. But let's think back a little bit to the history of the Yaesu product line and Mr. Hasegawa, who was a contemporary and devoted student of the work of Mr. Art Collins. Collins S-lines were easy to interface. Why? Because they used RCA connectors for the important stuff. Well, guess what? Right there, it says TX ground. That's a closure to ground on TX. Imagine that. That's where you hook up your relay control line. And up here, another RCA connector for ALC. Now that does not do the automatic band switch that's accomplished here, and yes, that requires a special cable. But to get this radio on the air, if you don't need the automatic band switching, it couldn't be simpler. A couple of RCA connector cables, and you are on the air. By the way, there's also an RCA connector right there if you want to hook up a foot switch for TNR control.
When I first put the FTDX-101D on the air, first thing I noticed was how the audio just sparkles on transmit. When you want it to bark in a pileup, it'll do that. When you want to go hi-fi for a rag chew, it'll do that too.
The parametric microphone equalizer, a circuit that was introduced in the FTDX-9000 several years ago. The parametric microphone equalizer allows you to adjust with great precision the low, medium, and high frequency response for your microphone and your voice characteristics, as well as your operating situation. For example, if you're just hanging out on 75 meters on a Saturday night in a rag chew, you can have a nice, broad, mellow sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, W6HRO. But if Bouvet Island shows up on 20 meters, you don't want to be sounding like that. You want to be much more aggressive. So you engage the microphone equalizer. And now you are ready for the pileup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, W6HRO. The parametric microphone equalizer is a tremendous feature on the FTDX-101D, and you will really enjoy setting it up and using it on the air.
Hey, Katie, you want to operate CW at 35 words a minute? You're not quite up to it? Well, it's got a great CW decoder in it.
Well, thanks again, Chip. I really appreciate your helpful review of the FTDX-101D. I sure hope you enjoyed the video. For more information on the Yaesu FTDX-101D and how to get one of your own, I've provided a special link for you in the description area. Now, don't forget, hit that like button, thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and of course, share with your friends. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I've provided the links to those as well. On behalf of all of us here at Ham Radio Outlet, thank you so much for shopping with us. We truly appreciate your business. I'm Katie, WY7YL for Ham Radio Outlet, saying 73 and reminding you to stay radioactive.